The month of February is recognized as Black History Month. In honor of this, I'm profiling Black women in history whose names may not be at the front of your mind or in our history books, but their footprint and their legacy lives on. My name is Valerie Albarda. Welcome to this special Black History Month edition of Midlife-A-Go-Go, the podcast. I'd like to start this episode off by telling you a little bit about the inception of Black History Month, its roots, and how it came to be the holiday that we celebrate today. In 1915, a Black journalist and author by the name of Carter Woodson attended a celebration honoring the anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation in Chicago, Illinois. I'd like to point out here that Carter Woodson was an accomplished gentleman. He was an intellectual scholar, having earned his master's degree from the University of Chicago and a doctorate from Harvard. While in Chicago, Woodson displayed his own exhibit highlighting pivotal events in Black history. The exhibit was a success. The following year, Carter and a minister by the name of Jesse Moreland wanted to continue with the study of Black history. They founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, which was later renamed the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. This organization still exists today. In 1926, the association sponsored the first Negro History Week, which occurred the second week in February. Over the years, the week-long celebration extended, and in 1976, then President Gerald Ford declared February as Black History Month. In doing so, he called upon the public to, quote, seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. That was 45 years ago. Today, we celebrate Black History Month as a way to honor those of the past and for those who are still with us, and to encourage people to learn and understand Black history. And now I present to you, in honor of Black History Month, 3 Black women who have left their marks on history. Mary Beatrice Davidson Kenner. She may not be a household name, but she should be. Mary was born on May 17, 1912 in Monroe, North Carolina. You could say that invention was in Mary's genes. Her grandfather, father, and sister were all inventors. Mary's thirst for invention came early on, and she started creating things around the age of 6. In 1924, her family moved to Washington, D.C., where she attended Dunbar High School. She then went on to attend Howard University for a while, but had to drop out due to financial difficulties. Mary's first patent was awarded in 1957. Now, for many of my loyal listeners who are from the same generation, you may remember using something called a sanitary belt. You have Mary to thank for that. Now, incidentally, she actually invented the sanitary belt back in the 1920s. However, she couldn't afford to get a patent on it. But over the next 30 years, she improved upon her own invention, and she was finally able to get the patent in 1957. Not without having to deal with racism first. There was a company that had showed interest in it, but once they found out that she was Black, their interest dried up. Throughout her lifetime, Mary received 5 patents on her inventions. That's the most patents for any African American woman. Mary, we salute you, and the women of today who are no longer using those sanitary belts, but who know what it was like. At that time, it was our godsend. And that's a little bit of history on Mary Beatrice Davidson Kenner. Hattie McDaniel. On February 29, 1940, Hattie McDaniel became the first African American to win an Academy Award. She won the Best Supporting Actress for her portrayal as Mammy in the movie Gone with the Wind, a movie which, to this day, I have never seen. Now, at the time, many saw Miss McDaniel as being typecast, often playing roles that portrayed her in a subservient light. In fact, Walter Francis White, who was the head of the NAACP at the time, harshly criticized, ridiculed, and denounced her for perpetuating negative stereotypes. But Hattie, she was a gutsy woman, which may have played a big part in her winning the Academy Award. In the weeks following Gone with the Wind's release, it's said that Hattie went into the producer's office, showed him the favorable reviews that she was receiving for her performance, and asked that if he agreed with them, he should submit her name in the running for the Best Supporting Actress. But she had something really interesting to say about the roles that she played. Quote, "Why should I complain about making $700 a week playing a maid? If I didn't, I'd be making $7 a week being one." End quote. Ms. McDaniel stood her ground, which was difficult to do at that time during the height of the Jim Crow era. Margaret Mitchell's novel was rife with the use of the N-word. Hattie's character was to have spoken it, but the word never appeared once in the film. It's said that Hattie refused to allow that word to cross her lips. Hattie faced a life of racism. Throughout her career, she had been in many films, and many of which did portray her in what many saw as the negative light. December 15, 1939 was the world premiere of Gone with the Wind. When all of the other actors were attending, Hattie could not, because the premiere was being held in a whites-only theater. Imagine being denied the right to attend the premiere of something that you worked so hard to achieve. The award ceremony was held at the Coconut Grove nightclub inside of Los Angeles' Ambassador Hotel. As was common practice during that time, the ambassador had a strict no blacks policy. Had it not been for the intervention of the film's producer, David Selznick, she would likely not have even been able to attend the very ceremony for which she had been nominated. Even though she was granted entrance to the Ambassador Hotel and the Coconut Grove nightclub, she was seated far away from her castmates at a segregated table placed up against a wall. In her acceptance speech, Hattie said, quote, "I sincerely hope I shall always be a credit to my race and to the motion picture industry," end quote. Unfortunately, that was not the case. Many viewed her Oscar statue as being worthless. Upon Hattie's death, the award was bequeathed to Howard University in Washington, D.C., and the award disappeared sometime during the late 60s or early 1970s. It has yet to be found. The final insult? In her last will and testament, Hattie had this to say, quote, "I desire a white casket and a white shroud, white gardenias in my hair and in my hands, together with a white gardenia blanket and a pillow of red roses," end quote. But that wasn't all she wanted. It was her desire to be buried in the Hollywood Cemetery. Hattie McDaniel died on October the 26th, 1952, at the age of 59. Her request to be buried in the Hollywood Cemetery was denied because she was Black. Hattie McDaniel has 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, one for film and one for radio. That's a little bit of history on the first African American person and African American woman to win an Academy Award, Miss Hattie McDaniel. Wangari Maathai. Wangari Maathai was born on April 1st, 1940 in Nairobi, Kenya. She was a political activist, human rights activist, and environmentalist. Wangari attended Mount St. Scholastica College in Atchison, Kansas, earning a degree in biological sciences in 1964. She later went on to receive her master's degree from the University of Pittsburgh and then her PhD from the University of Nairobi. She became the first woman in East and Central Africa to earn a doctorate degree. Wangari's list of achievements is impressive, most notable of which is becoming the first African woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize. She won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2004 for her environmental work in Kenya and founding the Green Belt Movement, a grassroots organization that focuses on planting trees to replenish the environment and improve the quality of life. In its citation, the Norwegian Nobel Committee noted Professor Maathai's contribution to sustainable development, democracy, and peace. Professor Maathai served on many boards and several organizations, including the UN Secretary General's Advisory Board on Disarmament, Green Cross International, the Worldwide Network of Women in Environmental Work, and the National Council of Women of Kenya. Professor Maathai passed away on September the 25th, 2011. And that's a little bit of history on 2004 Nobel Peace Prize winner, Wangari Maathai. I hope you've enjoyed this special edition of Midlife-A-Go-Go, the podcast in honor of Black History Month, Notable Women in Black History. Perhaps you learned something new today by listening to this episode. When I began researching for this episode, I wanted to specifically shine a spotlight on Black women who did remarkable things a little later in life. Each of the women profiled here today lived full lives in their own way, and each highlight that I focused on was achieved by a midlife woman. I want to encourage each of you to be bold in your pursuit of life. Don't take no for an answer. Stretch yourself beyond your wildest dreams and persist. Midlife is a stage of life, but not the end of life. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you'll continue to tune into the show, and I look forward to you joining me on the next episode of Midlife-A-Go-Go, the podcast. Until next time.